everybody to the Bengals Weekly Show on the Grilling Truth Sports Network. As always, the Grilling Truth is powered by betting.net. Betting.net is your best bet for finding the online sportsbook or casino that's right for you. Check them out now at betting.net. As always, I'm your host for the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show, Mike Goodpaster. We've got our normal co-hosts here and one special guest. So we'll start off by introducing the co-hosts. First up, we got Ty Robbins. How you doing, Ty?
What's up, Bengal Nation? I'm ready for this game. I'm excited. You know, I'm tired of hearing the national media go on and on and on, like Joe Burrow says. You know, I don't feel like an underdog, so I'm ready to see what the boys got when they travel to Buffalo.
All right, and of course, as always, we've got number 58 Bengals legend Joe Kelly. How you doing, Joe?
Man, I'm doing great, man. I think the amount of disrespect shown to us. You know, first of all, I selling AFC Championship tickets for Buffalo, and just the mere fact that you know there are so many people with and for me to be you know to bear witness, man, we were on fire, man. Guys are going to go up to Buffalo. And I'm not even going to say shock the world. I'm just going to say here, they're talking about, here we got to go to Buffalo. We got to play in the elements. You know, our guys are ready. Man. Just saying, I love their bravado and just the attitude to play us. It's not about playing. You guys got to play us, man. And I'm excited to go with what Joe Burrow can do against the Buffalo Bills.
All right, and now our special guest today is Tony the Tiger. Can you all see that right now? This is what Tony normally looks like on game day. How you doing today, Tony?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
All right, and I'm sure, Joe, you headed to Buffalo?
I'm going to this. It was only a 6-hour drive. He's trying to get me. I think he's called me about 7 already today. So I'm literally going to decide after I get off this. Man. I may go. I mean, I'm itching. I'm itching, and I'm fit. It's just, you know. So you know,
I think Joe shows up because he thinks that maybe if Logan Wilson goes down, they're going to just pull him out of the stands and let him play.
Hey, I'll wear your jersey, Joe. Come on.
Right. That's right.
Not in the game, you won't, Ty. Ty was just a wrestler. All right, guys. Last week, the Cincinnati Bengals beat the Baltimore Ravens. A little bit closer than what people had hoped, but to be expected in an AFC North match when you're playing a team for the third time. Joe, what was your takeaways from the game?
I said all week. You know, this was a Baltimore Ravens. John Harbaugh. This was AFC North. Baltimore Ravens has, if not the top defense, the number 2, number 3 defense in football game. Despite them not having Lamar, their defense and you know, they made it hard for us. And in some spurts, they think at one point in time we may have had 3-4 straight 3-and-outs. You know, at this point in time, I don't think you know, as a former player, you look at it, you know that Baltimore Ravens, that's a good matchup with style of play. You don't need that great of a quarterback when you're playing on to keep you in the game. They kept him around in the game, and you look at it. We know it was made by the defense, and that ball could have literally bounced and it landed right in Sam's hand. So you know, we were fortunate. It was a great time. The ball bounced our way, and you know, we got out with a win. In the play, I'll take an ugly win and a close win over a beautiful loss. And Bengal Nation, we've had a lot of beautiful losses.
Yeah, I've never seen a beautiful loss, Joe. That's on you. All right, so when I look at this game, though, you talk about the bounce. Tony, you've been going to Bengal games forever, just like I have, Ty has, Joe has. Not many times has that beautiful bounce went in our direction. It kind of seems like ever since Joe Burrow's got here, the ball kind of bounces a little bit differently, doesn't it?
Yeah. So the famous words, we always find a way to win, right? So I think this team is something special. It has been for the last 3 years. And, like you said, I think the fumble in the jungle that fell into Sam Hubbard's hands, it fell that way for a reason because we always find a way to win. And if you remember, we did that again in the Patriots as well. They're driving down to the goal line and the guy stepped up, and I do believe it was Von Bell, caused that fumble, and we were able to pull it out and win that game. So, like the narrative's always been here for our Bengals and Who Dey Nation is basically we find a way to win. So I'm looking forward to the game this weekend, and hopefully we can do it again.
Yeah, and that's what makes this team so much fun, Ty. It's just they always seem to find a way to win, no matter whether they're playing well or not. And I think that is where you get a Super Bowl champion team because not everybody's always going to be on top of their game.
Right. Well, turnovers matter. They win games, and especially when you head to Buffalo, this is going to be turnovers are going to be matter in this game. And Allen seems to like to turn the ball over with pressure. So, like Tony said, the defense has been stepping up. Vaughn made that tough. That fumble when we needed it, I thought, this is it. I thought the Patriots were going to score there. And then whenever, their backs are against the wall, the defense steps up, and then they did it again. Logan Wilson smacks the ball. Hubbard, the fumble in the jungle, as they're calling it now, he happens to be there. It's kind of weird. If you're at home and you're watching this on TV, you see it develop. But when you're in the stands watching it at first, you're like it takes a minute to process because there's nobody, telling you what's going on. And then you look up and all of a sudden you see big Sam Hubbard trailing down the field, and then Andrews is right behind him, and you're like, oh, I thought they were going to call it back. You know how they take off with the ball sometimes, and I thought, oh, the ball bounced and they took off, but they scored. And
my whole thing was with instant replay, I'm sitting there holding my breath. I'm not even celebrating during the run. Yeah. I'm not celebrating after the touchdown because I'm waiting to see the replay. And when they show the replay and you see that it got stopped, and I'll tell you what, Mike Tirico made an absolutely brilliant call on that if you guys saw it. I mean, to have the wherewithal to 15 yards into the run, yell the Cincinnati Kid with Sam Hubbard. I mean, Mike Tirico's really good. Now, when we look at Sunday, right now, from what I just saw, the weather forecast is calling from anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of snow. Joe, does that favor any team in your opinion?
Not really. I mean, we've Cincinnati has games. We went on the road last year on the playoff run. It was cold in Kansas City. When you're talking about snow, it's one thing if we were a California team and having to travel all the way from California up to Buffalo, and you got the time zones, and you're used to playing in sun and all that. So Midwest team, I think at the end of the day, this is a game that I don't think the weather is gonna. We're gonna lose because of the weather. When we go up there, that they don't. We don't allow the passion. Really how they are opening, welcoming us because of the DeMar situation. So there's a lot of emotions in there. I think we're past emotionally past that, and we're going to go in this game, man, and we're going to play with a chip on our shoulder. They have to play. The elements are the same. Born and raised in Buffalo, so I don't. The code is the code. It's snow. They got to catch as well. I don't think it'll matter once.
All right, so when we look at the 3 injuries, Ty, with the offensive line, also Greg Gorecki chimes in, looking forward to the game. I see it going something like 31-23 Bengals. Thanks for your comment. Listening, Greg. Those 3 offensive linemen being down, the Bengals made still made it to a Super Bowl last year with what I think is a worse offensive line than what they have now, even with the 3 replacements. I thought Jackson Carman played okay, especially the first series or two. Then it looked like maybe he got a little tired or something because he does carry a pretty good belly there. But Adeniji, I think, is better than last year. I think Sharping's better than what they had at right guard. The center is a huge upgrade from last year. Left guard's a huge upgrade. A lot of people are saying a lot of things here, but I think the thing people miss, the Miami Dolphins don't have a great defensive line. And they still pressured Josh Allen 22 times in that game. So when you look at that, I think people are missing the narrative here. Bobby Hart is the first guy in if somebody gets hit in Buffalo. So they can't be that damn good either, right, Ty?
No, I don't know why everybody's ignoring that. You know, when you look at Buffalo's line, it's just really not that great. And then when you look at the Bengals line, and that's been the narrative for the whole week this week. But you got to remember that Adeniji and Jackson Carman played in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? They played in the postseason last year, and they are not, and they're back in their original positions where they play better. So Jackson's at left tackle, and Adeniji is at right tackle, and then Sharping had experience last year. So I don't think this line is as good as it was, you know, with Kappa and Collins in there. Probably not, but I think it's going to hold up. I think Joe's going to take some maybe 5 steps, 3 steps, and see, you know, how much pressure he gets. You know, and he can always adjust and go to 2 steps and release the ball. But I think they're going to give him enough time to eventually get the trio going, and they're going to open up on the Bills. Hell, they did it last time. You know, five plays and they're down and they score. So that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, and the other thing I see here is you talked about that. One thing that can give him more time, Tony, is if they can run the ball. And the thing I did notice in that short period of time they were on the field with the Bills, every time Joe Mixon touched the ball, it seemed like it was a 7 or 8 yard run. And I've seen enough Bills football in the last month to know that they're not great stopping the run, and their secondary is not that good.
Yeah, so, you know, we're definitely going to feel it on our offensive line with them guys leaving and being hurt. But as you're saying, with Mixon, you know, Mixon can run the ball. We've seen it. You know, the one game he had a phenomenal game, and he was able to get the yards that he did and all the touchdowns. But I really think they need to mix it up. If they're going to have any type of run game, they need to get P. Ryan in there. They need to do a 50-50 split, in my opinion. And then, you know, Mixon does really well on them quick outs and them passes. So I can't take that away from Mixon at all. But what you guys have been talking about, they're going to adjust, and that's what they've been doing all year. So Burrow's going to adjust on how he throws the ball, how quick he gets it out. I think we're going to see him scramble a little bit more than we have in the past. But they'll make the adjustments, and you know, we'll make sure that we do positive things here.
Yeah, and I would assume defensively, Joe, the Bengals are going to play soft coverage and make Josh Allen make short throws, which he doesn't like to make. We saw the Miami Dolphins do that last week, and it actually forced 2 turnovers where Josh Allen got tired of dinking and dunking and just threw the ball deep when he shouldn't have. I assume they're going to do the same thing here. They got to spy him. I mean, do you think they take what Miami did and maybe do a little bit of that, maybe blitz a little bit more than normal?
Well, what I do as a defense, we're not going to change our philosophy. A couple of good things well against Buffalo. When you look at we match up well. You know, Lewis has made some great adjustments, and I think that Pat Mahomes and changing it up. Sometimes you show four men, one of the D line drop to be a spy, because Buffalo now you're going to have some snow, so it's going to be a little harder for the quarterbacks. That's the 2 guys that are the most. But I think Miami was, you know, really successful against them, and I think we're a totally different defense than Miami. I think we're a lot better defensively. Design runs for Josh. You can see maybe at least those were designed, you know, run quarterback draws, and we're going to be aware of that. I think, you know, we still play and play the defense because we play well. I think we're spying on Josh, not allowing him 25, 30-yard run. Let him throw the ball up. Say what you want to say about Josh Allen. Josh Allen's a top-tier quarterback, but he's a quarterback that will give credit. He will throw the ball to you. So we just got to, play sound defense. Our pass rush lanes. I think we should be able to stop the run and force them to have to be disciplined in our pass coverage assignments, and just wait for him to make a. He's a guy that he's with his arm strength, cocky enough to throw the ball in there, thinking he can get in there, and he has thrown some bad balls. He has thrown some great balls as well. But I think we stay disciplined. We stay, a wrinkle here and there of what Miami did, but we play our style of play. We play and make Josh make more mistakes than Joe Burrow.
Yeah, and I think that it's obvious from their history that that's how you would play this game, because Josh Allen turns the ball over more than Joe Burrow. He also runs the ball more. Ty, what do you think is the big key to this game overall?
I think turnovers are going to be a big key. Putting the pressure on Allen and forcing him to throw over, do some turnovers, and then capitalizing on that. And I think the other thing that a lot of people are overlooking is our defensive line is solid. So I don't know. They may be one-dimensional. They're counting on Devin Singletary and James Cook to run the ball, but you got DJ Reader in the middle there, and the backups that came in there. I don't know if they were saving Trey Hendrickson. He didn't play a lot last week in the Ravens game, and Cam Sample stepped up.
I'll tell you real quick, Ty. The way I took that from watching the game was Cam Sample was put in there to set the edge when they started running the ball successfully on Hendrickson, because he's a little bit smaller and he's more of a pass rusher. I thought it was a great move by Lou Anarumo to do that, because you set that edge with the much bigger guy on the wide side of the field, and it really shut things down. And the most impressive coach on this staff, and it's no shot at Zach Taylor, is Lou Anarumo. And he was a guy that I wasn't a big fan of at first, but when he got players and you see the adjustments he makes, the dude can coach football.
Right. Well, and, he has the players to do it and the depth pieces. Like I said, Jay Tufele, Joseph Osai, all those guys, Pecco, they're going to wear on that.
Pecco? Did you say Pecco?
I meant who's my?
I know you're talking
about Tupo or whatever.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
So I think those
too
guys,
many vowels in the name, right?
So those guys are gonna sum up that middle, and then you got the linebacking core. I mean, Jermaine Pratt's been playing lights out along with Logan Wilson. So those guys are going to make it tough. I think that's going to wear on this Bills offense as you get into the fourth quarter. They're going to put a lot of pressure on those guys to make plays. I think
Gaither Davis is a guy that's been underrated too.
Oh, yeah, well,
that's my guy. That's my guy.
I would like to remind everybody that a few years ago, Jermaine Pratt, I said, would turn into being a good player, and Joe poo-pooed all over that idea.
Well, it's this. When you look at games, you're looking at defense. Great plays. He made a great play in the playoffs against the Ravens. He's made a couple of strips. But here you still got to look at other game. So
I do look at other games, Joe. You can't tell me Jermaine Pratt hadn't played his ass off this year.
He's played a lot better. He's played a lot better. But when you're looking at, when I'm watching linebackers, you're watching the game. I'm watching linebackers. So here.
No, Joe, I watch the linebackers too. How many games have you won coaching, Joe? Come on, Joe, get off me.
He's not Logan Wilson. He's not Logan Wilson.
Dude, I don't know if there's too many guys in the NFL that are as good as Logan Wilson. Yeah. Logan Wilson's an absolute stud.
He's made plays. I still think I don't think he's a pure inside linebacker. I like Akeem's athleticism. Plays for us. He's made plays for us. That's all matter. You'll stay in this, and he's made some big plays. So I'll give it, making some really big plays, for the defense and for the team.
All right,
All right, I got to
Tony.
go back.
Go
Hey,
ahead.
I got to go back and just apologize to Josh Tupou for forgetting his name, just in
He
case
just
I
got his name wrong again.
It's not
Say
right.
it. Say it.
Tupou, isn't it?
No, I don't
What
think
is
that's
it?
it.
What
You're close.
Well, I butcher names all the time. So
What was that, Tony?
I said, don't even ask me. I can't say it either.
Yeah, I can't either. I don't even know if you're saying it right or not. I'm just giving you a
I
hard
am.
time, but
I don't know. I butcher names. I butcher names at school, and tell the kids I still make my own kids wear name tags. So that's
yeah.
That's,
And his kids are all named Bob and Joe, and he still screws them up. All right, so Tony, what's the thing you think the Bengals need to do defensively? What's the number one thing? Because there's always one thing you got to take away from a team. Is that Stephon Diggs here?
Yeah, I think that coverage, Apple, he struggles. He'll do really well, and then Apple will let that big play go. So I think Apple needs to be on his game. He needs to make sure that he's meeting his coverages. But overall, as a defensive team, I think we're solid. To Joe's point, we got Logan Wilson, you got Pratt, and those guys work together, and what one lacks, the other one picks up. And I think that's what's really good about this defense is we all help each other in their own way. And, that middle, I think they're going to have trouble running in the middle with Reader and those guys. So, but I really think the key here is our secondary and our corners, making sure that we contain those wide receivers and make sure Allen doesn't have that long ball.
Yeah, and really the Bengals had trouble stopping the Ravens' run game, Joe, but I think a lot of that is the way the Ravens run the ball. It's almost like an Army or Navy going to play at D1 school. It's hard to prepare for it. You don't see it.
Yeah.
They run the edges a lot, which is where I worry about the Bengals defense because I think inside, like Tony said, I don't think anybody's running up the middle on them, but the edges are what worry me here.
Yeah, and like I said, that goes, playing sound defense. A lot of times, and you see they were Trey's a hell of a player. He can't play the run at times, but he's a great passer. Anytime you have a great pass rusher that wants to get off and tee off on that tackle, scrimmage. So when you invert the line of scrimmage, here that from your defensive tackle to your defensive field, that gap goes from a half a yard in width to and then when you have and Singleton, they have Buffalo, they can run the ball. They have some decent. I think if we play sound defense, we cut down the scrimmage. We're playing sound defense. We got the A gap, you got the A gap, you got the B gaps, you have the B gap. Playing sound and make Josh throw the ball. If we completely shut down with them, Diggs he's going to make some catches. He's a great wide receiver. Josh, they're going to make some plays. Just like Tony said here, when you talk about, we can't allow the 80-yard bomb. We can't allow the. We go and we look at some defenses and Buffalo. They're Frazier. They have some good athletes. Their defense, they give up a lot. They play great in the red zone. But our defense is better than them as well. So here we just got to play solid. Play at time because that's what it is. One series out of a time. Let's play sound defense. Make some adjustments. They're going to try and see what we're doing and try to combat that. Play, take it one series at a time, and I think we'll get out of Buffalo.
I think you need to watch Hilton. I think Hilton's going to surprise us too. I think, I think he's going to have a breakout game for some reason. I just got that feeling, and I do think we're going to see more production out of Trey too. I mean, he's been hurt. He's got that broken wrist, and he did get some rest last week. So I think you're going to see Trey a little bit more this game as well.
Yeah, I think he gets a little bit healthier each week, and he's a stud. I mean, he made as big impact as any free agent that they got last year, because right there it gave you an edge
Yeah.
rusher that could get it. I mean, Sam Hubbard's a really good player, but when you put Trey on the other side, Sam Hubbard becomes even better.
Yeah.
And you watch Joseph Asai. Joseph Asai seems like he makes one or two big plays every game. Still not real consistent yet, but he's basically just a rookie, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you can arguably say, he's been one of the greatest free agent pickups and that big of an impact. We can see how the defense, and you can see the difference in the tenacity. He plays with fire. He plays with emotion. I love watching Trey. Trey's going to get in there. He's going to mix it up. So I think he brings a lot, and what he does between the lines. It's the type of guy you hear talk about what person he is, how competitive he is, but he's all about stuff. And in that locker room, they talk about it. They talk about really like each other. So I think they really have something special, man. Tony can relate it to our '88 season. It was something really not just on the field, off the field, and that's something special that all the way to this day. There's so many guys from that team that still in Cincinnati, and we raised our kids together. Our kids, they call themselves, and you have that bond. And I think that thing special started last year. You just see it growing, man. And Super Bowl champs, man. There's always, and obviously the play is great on the field, but there's something special, and I think we have that spice. It's I really feel good. Despite having 3 offensive linemen not playing this.
Yeah, and don't you think, Joe, that the fans feel that? That's why the fans were so close to the '88 team, and I think that's why they're so close to this team also.
Yeah, it's mad here. Big Jam and Tony and those guys, they're coming to the game and the passion they have. You walk into the stadium and it's electric. You go back to that morning. You were down there. That game was just walking to the stadium, man, raising on your arms, man, and give you the chills. And just like here, you have that special feeling. And I'm shot, man, but hey, I'm going to root like crazy for Jacksonville, and tell you we might have a home game. That would be, when we went to we got home field advantage in '88. Low Miller for Washington Redskins, a kicker. This was an extra point, literally.
29 yards. He never missed a kick shorter than 35 yards in his career. That is still. Man, I went to the AFC Championship game and all that year, Joe. That was still the moment I most remember out of the 100 or so 200 Bengal games I've ever went to. We were actually in the end zone up high on the other end in the red. You could see straight down it. And my dad's like, let's just get out of here. And I'm like, no, something could happen. He kicks the ball and hits the upright. And I'll tell you, everybody in that place was hugging each other. I've never been hugged by that many drunk people in my life. Yeah. And I wasn't 21 yet, so I couldn't drink. So I wasn't drunk. And I mean, I got an 80-year-old man slobbering on me, but it was all right because he missed the kick. And then you get the fumble recovery by Fulcher. And then you get the field goal by Jim Breach. And the thing people remember, I'll go back to, that won the division. But the only way you guys got home field was by Indianapolis upsetting Buffalo the next day. And Indianapolis beat them by, I think, a field goal at the last second. So it takes a lot of things to go right, whether it's injuries or just stuff that you can't even control to be able to make a run like this. And in 1988, the AFC Championship game was against the Buffalo Bills. We beat them 21-10. 1981, divisional playoff game. Bengals beat the Bills 28-21. And I still think it's really hard to believe that the crowds at Paycor are as loud as the crowds at Riverfront, especially that 81 Bills game. It was the first home game ever. And the thing I remember is the Bengals were up 28-21. You know, Joe Cribbs, I mean, they had a hell of a team in Buffalo. And they convert a 4th and 20 with like a minute left to put them down to the 10. But the thing was, nobody could hear that a whistle was blown and a flag was thrown because of delay of game because the crowd was so loud. And they had to bring it back, turn it into 4th and 25. The Bengals get to stop and win the game. And I think that it is great because I had season tickets up through 2014. And I went to the 13 playoff against the Chargers. I was excited because I think, man, this is going to be like when I went with my dad in the 80s. And it wasn't. There was not the passion there. Even that team that was really good, the passion wasn't there. It seems like the passion's there now. That's what makes it great. And we have Tony on, and we had Bengal Jim last week. And the thing about you guys that I admire is everything you do for charities in the Cincinnati area, Tony. You want to tell us a little bit about that and where people can find out more about that?
Yeah, so we've had a phenomenal year. It's been amazing. So I've been with Bengal Gym now for a few years now, and our tailgates keep growing and growing. And again, I think you're seeing that Houday Nation and Bengal Nation coming together and celebrating our team, and we allow them to do that, pre-game. And I mean, our last tailgate, last week we had over 4,000 people there. It was crazy. 4,000 people at a tailgate. You just don't see that. But we utilize that platform to do the charity work that we do. And I've been doing charity work for 30 years. And I kind of lead our effort with that for the charity, but it doesn't. It's just not me. There's Bengal Jim. There's Dell from 16 Lots. There's Craig from Cincy Beer Fest, and you have all the other people that just help with the tailgate.
Wait a second, Cincy Beer Fest. When is this and where is it?
Yeah,
I'm asking for a friend, Tony.
Yeah. So make sure you go there. It's coming up. I think it's next month or next couple months. He'll be there, But that charity work that we do is great. So we've been able to serve and help 25 different charities this year. And it's not just little money. We've got a total of $118,000 that we've earned this year. I mean, that's phenomenal. I mean, you got a bunch of guys and girls that get together to do a tailgate, and here we are raising $118,000, 6 figures to go to charity. And this has been awesome. And our fan base, I'm a little biased, right? Because it's our fan base, but our fan base is the most providing, most caring, most giving fan base that I've ever been around. And I've been traveling for a couple years now to all the away teams, and from a tailgate to the charity, Houday Nation, Bengal Nation, however you want to call them, they're awesome. And our charity work has been great. I can't wait to see what happens the next couple weeks. We had a goal of $75,000 this year, and we kind of blew that out of the water. So we keep on setting new goals, and we keep on beating them. So. But other than that, follow me, follow Jimmy, and you can see all the tailgate charity work that we've been doing. And, like I said, it's been a phenomenal year for that.
All right. So now we get to the part where we pick the scores. If we have a guest and the guest picks the score absolutely correct, Ty Robbins will come and cut the grass at your house every day for the entire year.
Tony.
And Joe will come over and sit in a lawn chair and smoke a cigar while he's doing
That's
it.
right. That's right. Yeah. And drink a little bourbon, man.
All right, Tony.
So I think we're going to pull it out. I don't think it's going to be a big blowout like everyone's saying. So I'm going to go with let's do 31-28. I think there's going to be some interesting drives there. So I'll go with 31-28 Bengals.
All right, Joe.
I'm looking at the elements will affect the quarterbacks. I think everybody else will play. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. Honestly, I think there may be some drops here, some bad balls here and there. I think our defense is going to be stout. I think they'll score a score of like 20 to 13, and we're on ship, and we'll know tomorrow. We'll know tomorrow evening, if we're going to be hosting that. If you think Tony and them did something big last week, oh my God. Let us have a host the AFC Championship. Mike, I'm going to even get you crazy.
I will come if it's the AFC Championship because I was told the other day my shoulder is healed enough now. So there you go. Ty, give us your score.
Well, before I give my score, I just want to say I've been to a lot of Bengal games, and last week I've never been to a game where there was not a lot of away fans. I mean, there was hardly any Ravens fans there. So out of the 66,000 people that were
usually, though, aren't the Raven fans usually just like they can only get out, I think, for work release.
But
that and their sisters / wives don't let them go out of past the
there
state
wasn't
line.
there wasn't a lot of Ravens fans there. That made it even better. But I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going to go with 24-21 Bengals.
Yeah, I'm going to say 20-17 Bengals. I'm like Joe. I think this. I think both offensive lines do struggle. It's going to make it tough to score. You're going to have snow. You've got the elements. Is it possible, Joe, that the snow and the elements slow the defensive ends down somewhat, and maybe you could get a little bit more time to throw the ball?
Well, I think that gives an advantage to the defensive ends. If you got, especially when you got.
Oh, yeah, they got those dumbass heated fields now, don't they?
Yeah. You guys got like Sam and Trey, coming off that end, and trying to set, on that edge. Usually you give, to the defensive end. So, I think like you said here because of the elements, we already know, our interior guys are going to be stout. And like I was surprised. I was looked at when Carmen came in the game. Carmen Jackson came in the game. Like you said, first couple, and if we can get any of those guys just to play decent, we don't need them to play. Our trio is gonna. I think we're gonna be able to run the ball. I think who they nation, man. I think we're gonna give ourselves, and buy us, just want a ticket. Let's get a ticket to the AFC Championship, man. And I think we can go in there and do that.
All right, guys. We're going to go ahead. We're going to wrap it up. We'll be back next week. We'll have a special guest next week, too. And we'll be back next week to preview the AFC Championship game as the Jacksonville Jaguars will come to Cincinnati. Or the Bengals will go to Kansas City. What the hell? I'll take either one, Joe. It doesn't matter to me right now. As long as we win this game, I'm good with that. Tony, you want to give everybody your Twitter account again before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you just look for Tony D-A Tiger, you'll find me. And I just got one thing to say. We believed it was us, and now they got to play us.
All right, guys. We're going to wrap it up. Remember, your top sportsbook comparison site, betting.net, offers extensive reviews of the best online sportsbooks out there. Make sure you check them out. We're going to go ahead and wrap it up, though, for Tony the Tiger, Ty Robbins, Joe Kelly. I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth.